remember right after Encore, Alan hit me up to go on a lunch with me and Eric. I believe like the next week after the video dropped, he mentioned he wanted to do a bigger project with Primitive, you know, make like a bigger video, possibly like the biggest video Primitive ever made. And he wanted me to have the last part. He gave me pretty much 2 years to film for this.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, I don't think Carlos really approaches video parts thinking that they're all separate video parts, in as much as he's never thinking, I'm going to finish this one and move on to the next, at least as far as this part went. I remember the day after the premiere going out skating with him, and I think he had a lot of momentum from Encore, and he just kept it going. There was no downtime for him.
In my head, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna film like this 15-minute part, you know, I'm gonna try to like stack as much footage as I can.
He had this idea that he wanted to try and do his enders at the beginning.
In my mind, I was like, I'm just gonna like try to film the enders like right before too, you know, like so I'm not like, when it's crunch time, I'm not stressed, you know. So all that was going through my head, and I believe that helped me a lot in the process. Richard Mulder, he used to be my neighbor, and you know, I was talking to him during the whole like filming for the video, you know, and then I was telling him that I wanted to like get the enders done before crunch time, and he like suggested like, why don't you just go and like switchback nosebone Clipper, you know? Yeah, I text Kyle Camarillo because he used to live like a block from Clipper. And then 2 days later, he like sent me a photo of Clipper with the woods on the run up, no knobs, just perfect, ready to skate, you know? He's like, what do you want to do, you know? And then I told him like, maybe I want to switch back nosebone. And he's like, only if I shoot it. Yeah, so I started off just kind of like switch-alling, kind of boning, like almost like switchback noseboning the air, like going fast, you know, clearing the whole hub and like kicking my board out, and like I did that for a while, dude, like a lot. And then JP was like, dude, like if you want to do this today, like you're gonna have to commit right now, like you stop playing, like you gotta commit on this try. So I'm like, all right. And then sure enough, boom, locked in slid, first one. I'm like, yes.
There you go, dog.
Yeah, after I did the first contact, it definitely like, I knew I was gonna land it. So, you know, it's just that kind of like the matter of the right one, you know. That trick was probably one of the tricks that I most hyped on, you know, that I did, because I overcame like the fear of like trying it. So when I landed that with Kyle shooting it too, like, I gotta be honest, in the back of my head, I'm like, I think this is gonna be a cover, you know? So I was just most excited about like, oh man, like maybe, you know, there's a possibility of me being the cover of Thrasher magazine, you know, like that, you know, right now, like that's one of my biggest accomplishments, you know, on skating, I feel, you know, personally. I knew that Miles had gone to Dallas for a fourth quarter trip, and he was telling me all about the spots there and how the city is good to skate. Then we ended up planning a trip for Define there, and yeah, we had a blast. We barely got kicked out of spots, you know. Even the spots we got kicked out, we ended up clipping up on it too. So it was, yeah, Dallas did good for us. Yeah, that session with Miles at the rail in downtown Dallas was sick. When he switch flip from board, I did a fakie nose grind. I always wanted to do a fakie nose grind in the streets, you know.
Fakie, switch back 5-0, and like, yeah, to like pinch that trick and even aim it on like super skinny rail was pretty crazy. But just like the process of the way he was going about it was kind of just treated it like he was doing a crook, but just going the other way. And like, I'm like, bro, that's like one of the hardest, like, you can't see like anything. So for him, yeah, that was definitely a wild one.
The bunny called, I say, yes, it's me. Woo!
I think at that point it was really interesting to see how confident he was in his own ability. He was kind of at this Arto Sari, flip sorry level where everything started to turn into first try, full commitment. I think on that switch front board session you could really see it where 50-50 in the wind was really gnarly. Like, it was so windy, and I really thought we were going to move on to the next after that.
I feel like that day was like super windy and just like shitty conditions, and like, I mean, the ground was really rough. Just the whole scenario of the thing, I was like, oh yeah, maybe like 50, maybe something like that. That's it. And then like, yeah, he started tapping like switch front board and maneuvered that somehow. But it was like a long ass flat bar to try to do that. Just the whole conditions of doing that. That was just like another thing, just showing like him just making tricks happen at like random shit, just down to skate like any spot. Even prior, I feel like Carlos was kind of like always like, he would skate rails and stuff like that, but it was always like kind of like tech rails or like, you know, not like necessarily like big, like 13 rails or whatever. Yeah, I don't know if it was like us skating. I know it had a lot of influence from him linking up with Giovanni and stuff like that and getting more pushed into skating like bigger rails. But yeah, he just started skating big shit and down to get gnarly and was kind of making it a point to like, even if I'm not gonna skate the rail, to at least just like 50 it, just to try to like hop on rails and like keep that momentum going.
I'm kind of like learning, you know, to skate bigger stuff, kind of wanting to skate bigger rails and stuff like that. So I'm in the process of learning, and then I have my homie Miles, which is a killer, and his approach on bigger spots and like gnarly stuff, it's just like so casual.
It's really great watching them skate because they have all of these extra responsibilities both at home and in skating, but they still keep this really naive skate rat focus on getting tricks and who's going to do what where, and it really works out for them in this video.
We meet up on a Tuesday by ourselves. Yes. Shaba. Yes, sir.
I'd always like seen that rail and been like, I'm trying to get there. One of these days I could just tell by like the dimensions and shit, like it's a big rail, but it like looks perfect, like really inviting. And then I seen Carlos skating it on the gram and I was tapping in with him like, yo, how is it? Blah, blah, blah.
He's like, oh, how's that rail, dude? I always wanted to skate it.
I was trying to get all the details, cracks, roll up, all that shit.
And then I'm like, perfect. Let's skate together, you know.
So we were plotting on just putting together the session. I was like, yo, after this trip, like I'm gonna come to LA, stay for a while, let's skate some shit, and then pull up on Maryland.
A lot of effort here, bro.
I don't think he told me before, but he's like, yeah, I want to do kick front crook pretzel and then switch back lip. And I'm like, what the fuck? How are you gonna start the line with that? Like, he was trying to get himself to switch front board at 2. I was like, if I go for it right here, you gotta go for it. He's like, all right. And then went for the switch front board. He didn't go for it. I was like, come on, bro, like, whatever.
I remember I was taking my time because that's how I like to play it safe, you know. We both do switchback Smiths too, so me personally, I rather just try to switchback Smith straight, but Miles, he's more casual with stuff, so he was like, homie, like, I'll have to switchback lip, just to tap switchback lip first. I'm like, dude, do what you gotta do. That's gonna help me do my switchback lip too, you know?
I knew we were skating together, but I was also kind of like in tunnel vision of just like, all right, focusing on, I gotta do my shit, like figure it out.
Yeah.
Miles like went to switchback Smith and like slipped out, like grabbed the rail and popped his shoulder, popped it back in, did some push-ups real quick, and he was like, all right, dude, I'm gonna try it again. So like he tried a couple more again and then popped his shoulder again, I remember. And I was tripping. So he popped it back in and he was like, if I don't land it right now, like, you know, I'm screwed. So I'm like, homie, if you land this one, I'll commit switchback lip, like no matter what, dude. Sure enough, homie landed it. And then in my head, I'm like, okay, but I have to land this kickflip from crook pretzel first, you know, then I'll commit. And then sure enough, I landed it too, and I'm like pushing towards the rear. I'm like, please. I pretty much just went like this to the switchback lip, you know. Luckily, like it was super mellow. And then yeah, few tries later, I landed my line, and we were just so hyped, dude. I remember that was like an energized session.
That was a beast session. That was a dope one. Very relieving for both of us to just like, we had talked about it for so long, so then just to like check that shit off was fire.
We had a couple of episodes like that during the Find, you know, that I'll always remember. That's like, I feel like that's the essence, you know, of skating, the street skating, you know, like that was like, those sessions with Miles were really like memorable.
Carlos had a really internal drive that I hadn't really seen from him prior to that, and in the other videos. He had a very strong sense of determination. He definitely wanted all sessions to be really enjoyable and exciting and everyone to get tricks. There were no selfish side missions. He wanted everybody to get a piece of it. He just really unobtrusively put himself as the team captain and worked from there on. Towards the end of the video, his scope of what he was willing to try got really wide and a lot higher than what any of us had expected of him. And he started to look at some really iconic spots. He switched backside nose blunt slid clipper. And I think, although he knew that he had that as his last trick, he definitely felt like he wanted to have something that no one had seen before.
Alan wanted me to have the ender after the switchback nose blunt, because that was gonna be expected already. You know, we had the cover like a year before the release of the video. And I had the same thought in the back of my head. I wanted to do a different trick for ender also. I tried this trick in Houston, didn't work out, so I wanted to like switch crook a kink rail. Yeah, we ended up going to Frost because I wanted to do there. I don't know, sometimes I want to go straight to the trick. Sometimes I want to kind of like do a couple of tricks to like feel comfortable. That day was one of those days that I wanted to like grind it before, you know. One of these tries, I just kind of like jumped on the stairs and I stepped wrong, and yeah, I rolled the crap out of my ankle. It was pretty gnarly. As soon as I rolled it, my whole leg burned. And I remember I'm like, something happened, you know, like that's it, you know.
At that point, he was so confident in his own ability that he'd never even considered getting hurt. So when it first happened, we felt like he'll be fine, you know, he'll be out for a couple of weeks. But it ended up being a much more serious injury than I think any of us considered, and took him a really long time to come back from it.
Fully tear the deltoid ligament, which is the inside of the ankle ligament, and then partially tear the lateral, which is the outside of the ankle. So one fully tear, one partially tear, some other damages, cartilage, like, you know, it was pretty messed up. And he told me, he's like, dude, like, you're probably gonna be back in like 6 months, you know. Like, we're talking about this right now, it's 13 months after, and I'm still dealing with it. It's almost done now, which I can street skate again, but it's not fully 100% yet. I had all these ideas for, you know, for the Find still, you know, after I got injured, I still wanted to do a bunch of other tricks that wanted to like add up to that part. Alan comforted me too with like the footage we had. He was like, dude, the footage is good, you know, don't stress if you can't skate anymore. Like we got a part. I was kind of concerned, you know, I feel like every skater is, you know, when it comes to video part. I know I can still one-up that, you know, because I had all these ideas and stuff. That's not like all I got, you know. Of course, I max out on, I always do that on my parts. Like I try to, you know, max I can. So when people tell me they're hyped on that part, that gives me this comfort of like, okay, like cool, I can still, you know, add up to it. I just can't wait to be right back in the field, you know, stacking clips. That's just what we do, you know. We need that. So so I'm hyped on that. That was not like a Naija thing, you know. You got it as a Naija thing, huh? Yeah, dude, we need those clips, man. So I can't wait to be back, you know, fully stacking in the streets and yeah, skating in general.